position themselves, which can position themselves in the downstream. But the problem for us as a country is that we face problem in the downstream of the value chain because we are highly dependent on the imports from other countries. So this is one of the challenge. Other challenges, as I was mentioning, that coal is the sole source currently for electricity. So we have to move towards renewable energy. Apart from that, one figure I found out was that the capacity of lithium present across the world is only 8 million tons. So definitely we have limited capacity and we have to find alternatives, and Reliance is currently working on sodium ion batteries. And there's some work going on in the sector of green hydrogen also, and it's definitely a space we can look into. And apart from that, we have to make sure that in order to make the whole system sustainable, we have to recycle the e-waste in the longer run, that is batteries. So coming to the conclusion, as you can see, I got this image of the carbon emission across each transport, like let's say aeroplane, four-wheeler, two-wheeler, etc. And like if you can see here, with electric vehicle, the carbon emissions are reduced by 1/4 if you compare it with a gasoline or diesel vehicle. So definitely EV is going to come in the next decade or so, and it's definitely an interesting space to look at. But said that, what we also know that there has to be a lot of push from government policies, like example FAME 2.0, which you were also discussing, and subsidies, so that consumers are more able to adopt to this new ecosystem. We definitely need consumer awareness, more charging stations, and in the long run, we definitely have to reduce the cost of EV in order to make sure that everyone adopts EV in the long run. So yeah, that's all from my side. Thank you. And in case you're not planning to buy an EV, you can definitely go ahead for share mobility like Blue Smart, and in a way, you can definitely reduce CO2 emissions in the long run. Thank you.
Very good, Sonali. Good job.
Yeah. Any questions? Yeah.
Very nice, Sonali. Good attempt and good presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask some questions from Sonali right now, or we can go with the next candidate.
No, we can move ahead. I already gave her the feedback only in terms of the battery, and then the battery, I would say manufacturing and battery assembly, battery pack assembly is where she will have to well deeper. But otherwise, it's a good compilation of information. Good job, Sonali.
Thank you so much, sir. So definitely I'll reach out to you on LinkedIn and get my issue or confusion between battery pack and battery solved. But definitely looking forward to talk to you. Thank you so much, team.
Welcome.
Have a nice day. Bye.
So yeah, next candidate. Yeah, next candidate is Charan Aburi. So
yes, sir.
You can present your screen.
Visible, sir?
Yeah.
Shall I start?
Yeah, who is this? Charan, is it?
Yes, sir. Charan Aburi, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, Charan.
Okay, sir. And my name is Charan Aburi, and today I'm going to present on the topic e-vaccine protect our environment. It's not just about protecting environment, but also the evolution into this electric automobile into this electrical field. So,
Charan, why don't you switch on your video?
Sir.
Why don't you switch on your video?
Just only voices. So 2 minutes I'll switch on. Sir, can I continue my presentation?
Yeah, please.
So myself, Charanaburi, and I'm today going to present on a topic, e-vaccine protect our environment. It's not just about protecting the environment, and but also the evolution of automobile into the electrical era. So I add few points to this to express my views and challenges on this electrical era and also protecting the environment. Sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So coming to the introduction, the evolution of automobile into the electrical era is a good sign that also not only by protecting the environment, but also importing the oils from the foreign countries. And it is also a big opportunity for the youth also to get a part of this. And replacement as before, some of the electrical vehicles are already exist, not but my means of a lot. Only some of the electrical vehicles, like one or two vehicles, someone manufactures. But also before there is a manufacturer based on lead batteries. There is a small disadvantages with the lead batteries, and now replacement with the lithium-ion batteries. As lithium-ion batteries have a good charging capacity and charging power, so the lithium-ion batteries will help in some advancement in evaluation of electrical advancement. And not only just by private companies, but also government is also playing a major role. As the ministry has recently made an announcement that India is going to evolve into this electrical field in the next 5 years. The development and the evolution to this electrical era is going to be in front of our eyes, and also it creates many employment opportunities. But not only the technical, and also many manufacturing companies also provide many employment opportunities, like industrial opportunities. Many employment opportunities will be given, and also it is also affects on the environment by reducing environmental pollution. So the environmental pollution is the major issue now many countries are facing. So by reducing this environmental pollution will be major advantage for the cities to develop and to enhance themselves, and also encouragement for innovative ideas in the sense by many startups can come as in the college level, and in some schools levels we are implementing some of the projects, like some electrical related, some small applications. So by encouraging or forming a small scale startups, like we can grow and we can develop some advancements, and also we can improve our product that we had smallly implemented at our college level. So this helps in developing and also our involvement in the electrical field. And also from the statistics, and as the environmental pollution, the diesel vehicles and petrol vehicles, many carbon emissions like carbon dioxide and hydrocarbons, and also nitrogen compounds. These nitrogen compounds are much effect to the environment, as like increase in global warming, greenhouse effect, so increasing in heat in the atmosphere, and also, and the government also intended, as the current scenario, we can see that due to the war between the Russia and the Ukraine statistics, many countries were unable to import the oils. Crude oils from their countries. So there is a gradual increase in crude oils. So by reducing the imports in oil, we can strengthen our energy security by entering this electrical era, so that it helps in decreasing the importation of crude oils and also depending upon other countries. Because at the time of this crisis, we should, when depending upon other countries, it will be an issue for increasing the prices and also some issues. So now, many of the electrical vehicles are manufacturing in India are two-wheeler vehicles, because many two-wheeler vehicles were sold. Many are focusing only on the two-wheeler vehicles, because India is now not in a capable or more stock to implement more in the four-wheeler vehicles. So to implement it in four-wheeler vehicles, there is a lack of stock, like raw materials should be manufactured. So it should be imported from other countries. So it will be taking more time for four-wheelers coming to this. So India is now not in a position, because many small scale industries should be encouraged. So to develop the raw products, because small scale industries cannot develop the entire product. So by giving some encouragement to the small scale industries, they develop the raw products and they will supply it to the large companies, and they will help in the production process. So it will be quicker to evolve into this era. So it will be a greater advantage for small scale industries. So the environment is the nature given gift. We have to preserve it and we have to give it to the future generations, not just by spoiling it. And also from the environment statistics, more of scooter and motorcycle vehicles, because many people in India use motor or scooter vehicles than four-wheeler diesel vehicles. So statistics describe that many harmful chemicals, mainly carbon monoxide is a harmful chemical, and also hydrocarbons and nitrogen compounds is a little bit in amount, but also more in toxic. So increase in greenhouse effect is we can visualize ourselves by seeing the increase in hot temperatures in summer and other, and also increase in solar radiation, and also it may lead to many diseases like skin cancers, and many diseases will be affected when we destroy the environment. As we all know that every country is in a rush to improve their country by reducing pollution in their country. So as per the reports of IUCN, it has given that most populated 30 cities, and it is also given that 22 of the 30 world's most populated cities are in India. As the statistics shows that India is more populated than any other countries because of the automobiles. Automobiles, mainly the pollution is due to the automobiles. So if automobile pollution was decreased, many 50 to 60% of the pollution will be decreased. And every country other than India, because every country other than India are emerging quickly into this era, because they have a capable of manufacturing the raw products on their own, and also some batteries or required parts on their own, and they are improving in that era. But India is just started its evolution, and it should encourage some small scale industries so that it helps to develop. And also youth should be given opportunities, because many applications before the investment into the automobile era, youth was not a part. But now into this electrical era, we mainly focus on electrical era as engineering students as many. So it will helps. So it helps in mainly developing more, giving employment opportunities to think in an innovative way. Innovative ideas will lead to more advancement, like some any faults and disadvantages. So small scale industry should be encouraged as a part. It has been started 2 or 3 years back, like as Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is self-reliant India. India should manufacture and less depends upon imports. So this was also a good opportunity to encouraging small scale industries in this part of era for manufacturing small parts, and they're involving them into a larger part into this. And also by encouraging, not only by encouragement of other companies, but also foreign investments, because when foreign companies visit India and they start manufacturing, the companies which are present in India will learn some values from it, like how to improve our production and how to manage the production and how to import to other countries, and how to increase the production by and how recruitment process, and what are the functionalities they are taking in their company will help the Indian companies to see and their company by learning from their company. So it will help our Indian companies to improve ourselves and also fastly evolve into this electrical era. So it will be a great opportunities. So it will be a great opportunity for youth also to come into this. It's just not so from all my conclusions and my idea about electrical era and saving the environment, I should conclude that it's not by manufacturing them, it's not just fastly evolving into the electrical era, but also some major advancement and small requirements or manufacturing them in a better way, so that they work more reliable and they may last for many years, so that it helps in developing. So as recently we have seen that many motor vehicles, around 14 electric vehicles were burned due to overheating of lithium-ion batteries. So as this was mentioned by the government, and also it has been said that not just manufacturing it, because overheating, there should be some regulation which controls the overheating by giving some precautions, or that not by overheating or some speed limits or something that continuous running of the engines may lead to it. So some regulation must be taken, or replacement of some batteries or some advancement must be taken, so that we can reduce in it. And so this is the major advantage where youth can take it as a challenging and to come up with new ideas like the lithium. What is the disadvantages? Why it is burning like that? Why it is more overheating because of more running of the machines or overspeed? So taking this as a small applications by reducing or telling a small solution to the problem, this contribution, like these contributions of the youth, will help in developing into this electrical era, and also coming with new ideas and efficient ideas. And not just we create that we employ opportunities should come to us. We have to take an even challenging opportunity like why the vehicles are burning. We should start researching ourselves, and we should be a part of this. We should involve in this, not by that opportunity comes to me and opportunity. So I think this is my view in all should involve in this, not just by telling the opportunity should come and we shouldn't wait for the opportunity. We should think about the problem, why the vehicles are burning, and some small applications we should take, and we should improve ourselves, and then we can come up with new ideas, startups, and this helps in a good use. Thank you, sir.
Good, good. So, Sharan,
Sir.
I think it's a good presentation. So, what is the ultimate message that you're trying to communicate?
India now is not in a situation to manufacture the raw materials and raw products. So it should improve the small scale industry so that they manufacture raw product. They can't manufacture the entire product, so that they can supply it to the large scale industries which are manufacturing the product. And also there are some disadvantages in manufacturing like heating, burning off. So youth should be a part of this, taking that application by finding a small solution should help the society, sir, so that we can evolve and also more reliably the systems, more reliably the electrical error can take place, and also more people can encourage, because when we see some vehicles are burning, what we see, we believe in that, sir. So we believe in that these are burning vehicles. So many people, 50 to 60% or 20 to 30% people will be in a situation minded, oh, it's not working. So they may not come forward to buy these electrical vehicles, and they will continue the petrol and diesel, sir. So by finding the solutions and giving them the solution to prove that yes, this is the solution. So by using the solution, we can get more reliable products, sir.
Okay. Okay. Good. Good.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharan. Yeah. Next one, please.
Next participant is Devansh Gupta. Devansh, are you there?
All right. Yeah, I'll just share my screen. Please just give me a quick heads up if it is visible or not.
Yeah, visible, Devansh. And can you switch on your video? Yeah, you are there already. Good.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Go ahead, Devansh.
All right. So very good morning.
Which college?
So SGGSCC, it is a college in Delhi University. I'm currently a final year student there.
Please go ahead, Devansh. Good.
All right. So very good, sir. I, Devansh, take pride in presenting before you a small presentation that I've made on opportunities and challenges for the extension of electric vehicles in India. Electric vehicles are currently a big trend which is going on in the automobile industry, and I'm sure this trend is here to stay. So we look at some opportunities and challenges. To look at the industry at a glance, we have presented certain metrics. Currently, the EV sales, specifically as a part of automobile sales, is very low. We surely are looking at an increasing trend. We can see on the bottom right line chart that I've created. These are the monthly EV sales in 2020 and 2021, and it clearly shows that there is an uptrend, except for a few months which were pertaining to the COVID-19 lockdown. Also, we see that Uttar Pradesh is currently the state with the most highest sale of EVs. And among these specifically, this specific sale figures, electric two vehicles are the major source of revenue, followed by electric 3 and L5, which are basically three-wheeler cars and rickshaws. And also a certain amount comes from electric four-wheelers. On the bottom left, these are some major players. We can see Ather, Ola, Electric, basically. These are in the two-wheeler segment. There is Piaggio in the electric L3 segment, and Mahindra Electric and Tata Motors in the four-wheeler segment. Shri Nitin Gadkari, our Minister for Road Transport and Highways, has said that within 2 years, the cost of an electric vehicle would drop to be at par with that of a petrol vehicle. And this comes as a major announcement. We'll see why. Here I've presented a pestle analysis, which basically includes the environmental analysis of the EV industry. Certain political changes, certain political influences which are there, arise out of the current ruling government. The PGP is in wide support of EV, and hence it is a plus point. Further followed by economic changes. Currently, the Indian economy is developing at a good pace. It is growing at a good pace, and hence it won't be an issue for the expansion. So could you just give me 1 minute? I'll just connect my charger real quick. I'm so sorry for that.
Yeah.
Right. I'm so sorry for this delay, sir. Moving on to the social environment, consumer behavior and demographics play another very major role. And this could be a little pain point for the expansion of EVs because customers in India are predominantly middle class and they won't be too much open to the concept of adopting, shifting directly from conventional fuel-based automobile to electric vehicles. So this could be a minor pain point there. In the technological environment, EV is definitely a superior tech product. It is a completely electric car, and hence it won't be an issue to expand considering the technological environment. The legal environment is actually also a plus point because the government of India is passing a lot of incentives are being given for adoption of EV, and hence the special analysis makes it clear that only a pain point could be social environment. Rest all it is in the benefit of EVs. Among the very major challenges which are currently being faced by the EV industry, there is a chip shortage being happening. Suppliers are facing a lot of other challenges as well within the supply chain. Among these, we find these two challenges which also should be given more spotlight, a greater highlight, specifically if we consider the case of India. So the first one is the hurdle of infrastructure. We very well know that the charging stations and the charging network in general for the EV, which is required to be well in place before rolling out, it is not present in India. Apart from that, there is a major problem. People are not able to find parkings because there is a surge in the number of automobiles which are on road. People tend to have their own personal vehicles. Hence, the parking issue is also something to be considered while the expansion of EVs to be considered. Apart from this, a major pain point could be the charging stations are self-service models. People in India tend to rely on petrol pump attendants, whereas the charging stations are a self-service model. So this could be a minor speed breaker, which needs to be overcome, definitely by creating awareness among the consumers. And this could be easily done on the part of the government. Apart from this, the burden of high cost is another major thing to be considered. As I mentioned before, the Indian population is predominantly middle class, and hence price acts as a very major factor in their decision to opt for an automobile. So a regular electric vehicle tends to be more costly than its non-electric counterpart. I have presented a simple case of Tata Nexon's price being 7.42 lakhs and the same model in EV being 14.45 lakhs. So this could be a very major challenge that needs to overcome. But again, as our Minister for Road Transport mentioned, the prices could be lowered down to a certain level, which would be done in a matter of 2 years. Also, potential that these EVs carry with themselves is immense, and these two are just small examples of the extent of opportunities available for EV companies. First would be the shift to non-conventional energy. With the issues of climate change happening, increase in levels of pollution, a shift to non-conventional energy is imperative, and it is actually happening. We see that there are a lot of protests happening, a lot of awareness being built for the benefits of non-conventional energy like wind power, there is power. So the 21st century has brought a paradigm shift in this concept, and hence there is a focus on non-conventional sources. This is a major opportunity for the rollout of EVs, as EV can very well counter these. Apart from this, there has also been an increase in the petrol prices recently. We are seeing in the news every day that the conventional fuel is becoming costly day by day. So EVs could also act as a very differentiating point there. Secondly, the investment in charging networks, it is a big plus for companies who are actually looking to build their presence in the EV segment. By developing and establishing EV charging networks in the country, they can act as a first mover and exploit the opportunity very well. Currently, as we said in the last slide also, that there is not enough area for charging stations being right now. So although this requires a major expenditure, but this could certainly be profitable in the next 1 to 2 years. So these are some basic opportunities. And with this, I thank you for providing me this opportunity. I'd like to take any questions.
Very good, Devansh. Very good. So there is one slide that you have mentioned that EVs are expensive compared to their counterparts. Right?
Yes, sir.
Now, why do you think the reason is, and what could be the possible avenues through which we can bring the cost parity?
So the one very big reason currently also is the chip shortage, as I mentioned somewhere, that currently there are not a lot of automobile chips which are present, and hence this is creating a supply chain crunch. So this is further shooting up EV prices because EVs use a slightly complicated system than compared to a normal conventional vehicle. To counter this, we could use alternative raw materials. Currently, these lithium-ion batteries are primarily made out of silicon, if I'm not wrong. These chips, sorry, not the lithium-ion batteries. These semiconductor chips are made out of silicon, which is the primary raw material which is in shortage. For that, we could use certain other materials like graphene, which is easily available. It might be a slightly inferior raw material, but it could be very well developed into something which could be used easily. So it could be done for cost cut.
Also, are there any possibilities of innovative business models through which the burden on the end customer might come down?
So innovative business models, I think it would be it is very well plausible that taxi and cab companies could actually incorporate EVs into their models. So ultimately, the customer has to pay for a ride, and eventually, this cost of incorporating EVs would be high for the company, the cab company initially, but it would reduce the prices down over the years, and hence the end customer, the burden which is he's paying right now. Suppose I'm paying $200 for a trip. This will ultimately come down if these companies also start EVs in their models. So this could be an innovative business model on their part. Apart from that, I think adopting EV not just in 4 vehicles, but also the governments could undertake to incorporate electric L3 and L5 vehicles, as I mentioned. So the public transport that we use, it could also be electrified and incorporated into this model, so that only the awareness increases, but ultimately the cost burden also reduces.
Yeah, good.
Thanks.
Good, Devansh.
Thank you so much, sir.
And next participant is Mrinal. Mrinal, are you there?
Yes, I am. I will start off by sharing my screen. I hope my screen is visible now.
Yes, Nunal.
Right. Hello everyone, good morning. My name is Pranal Nekar. I'm from KJ Soma Institute of Management. I'm quite pleased to be presenting on the challenges and opportunities for EV adoption. So the automotive...
Yes. Okay, KJ Soma Institute of Management. Okay, where is it based out of, Nunal?
Mumbai.
Mumbai, yeah. Please go ahead.
So, as I said, I'm quite pleased to be presenting on the challenges and opportunities for EV adoption. So as we know, the automotive industry is on a brink of change, and EVs, in a way, they hold the key to the future, and it might just change the way we view our transportation industry. So first, to understand what exactly is the scenario of the EV industry, let's quickly go through the industry overview. So, with more than 3 million vehicles sold in 2020 and global sales forecasted to reach 25 million by the year 2030, the Indian EV market is projected growth is at a CAGR of over 37% in the next 5 years. The market has also shown a steady growth of 49.6% in the global PEV sales from the year 2012 to 2020. And the top 10 EV makers, especially in two-wheelers, have seen more than 400% of growth in the year 2021 itself. We are talking about brands such as Hero Electric, Okinawa, Ether, Ampere, and Pure EV. So now that we understand that the EV industry is flourishing, or is at least on a path to flourish as per forecast, let us understand what are the 5 major drivers helping this industry flourish. So first off, we are looking at government policies with subsidies, emission targets, tax exemptions, and incentives. The government is encouraging and fostering EV development throughout multiple countries. Second point, we are looking at the Tesla effect. So Tesla is the talk of the town. It's a very aspirational and desirable product for customers. So with several technological advances, this model, which is so wished by people, it was pre-booked. The Tesla Model 3 was pre-booked more than 325,000 times in 1 week. third point, we are looking at 5G rollouts. So why we are talking about 5G rollouts is because it has the potential to disrupt multiple aspects of the EV industry as we presently know it. We are looking at changes in manufacturing, P2X, autonomous vehicles, and new product development itself. Next up, we are looking at battery as a service model. So to accelerate the large-scale adoption of EVs, companies can leverage battery as a service model. We are talking about battery servicing, swapping, leasing, so on and so forth, multiple services that are still an uncharted territory for a lot of companies. And perhaps the most important point is lower battery costs. So the key to making these vehicles affordable will be to lower the battery cost or offer battery swapping and leasing services via innovation. So if these are the 5 major drivers helping the industry move forward in a positive direction, let us understand what are the challenges this industry is facing and what is holding it back as of now. So the first challenge that we are looking at is the lack of infrastructure. First of all, we require a pump of private funding and investment to develop proper charging infrastructure. Companies are facing multiple obstacles such as interoperability and lack of sustainable business models, to say the least. Next issue we are looking at is the high upfront cost. So the mass adoption of EVs is being prevented as of now due to the high cost of manufacturing these vehicles itself, the operating costs, and once again, the battery costs. Third, we are looking at lack of consumer knowledge and the wrong perceptions that are being harbored by the customers. There are misconceptions associated with these vehicles due to the absolute lack of awareness and lack of proper education about how an EV vehicle functions. Fourth, we are looking at pressure from oil companies and car manufacturer lobbies. So traditional companies such as Chevron, ExxonMobil, and Royal Dutch Shell are not in favor of electronic vehicle deployment since it will lead to an oil crash and obviously losses in their own business. And finally, what we are looking at is potential long-term effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. So as we know, the EV sales in India were definitely on a path of growth, but in the pandemic, they took a massive hit like a lot of other industries. The issues that the EV industry faced was lower oil prices, supply chain disruptions, factory closure, fall in global sales, and a slow pace in energy transitions. So now that we've understood the major drivers and major challenges on a global level, let us understand what an Indian consumer is facing when it comes to these challenges. So there are 4 major challenges that we are looking at. The first one is, as we said, the lack of charging stations. So as of now, there are only 1640 charging stations in India, with 940 charging stations concentrated only across 9 major cities. And as my fellow competitor mentioned, that there is also a lack of parking space in India. So we are looking at a dearth of infrastructure. Due to the absolute lack of charging infrastructure, customers are not sure if their vehicle will take them through the entire journey. We are looking at lack of faith in the vehicle's ability and anxiety in whether or not the vehicle will be able to deliver on what it promises, also known as range anxiety within the customers. Further on, the average price of a traditional fuel car is about 7.7 lakhs in India, whereas that one of an electric car is somewhere around 13 lakhs. These high prices do not appease the customers as they are still on the fence on whether or not an EV car will deliver and fulfill what their actual needs are. And finally, we are looking at the government policy of FAME, which is the faster adoption and manufacture of electric vehicles. And this policy has been heavily scrutinized by the industry. So these are the 4 challenges that are presently being faced by the Indian consumer. However, if we truly wish to see EV as the path to the future, how do we understand that this industry truly holds potential for growth? So let's understand this through ICRA Research's latest infographic. So as per them, within the year 2020 to 2025, let's go through the numbers for the forecasted growth. As we can see in the financial year 20, the numbers are negligible or they are in single digits. We are looking at a very small penetration rate of EVs, whereas in the next 5 years, we are looking at double-digit penetration when it comes to 2-wheelers, 3-wheelers, buses, and electric and passenger vehicles. So if we truly wish to adopt EVs and inculcate them into our day-to-day life, what are the 5 ways that we can adopt this?
So,
Let's
Mrunal,
go through.
one question.
Yes, sir.
Between
Yes, sir.
FY 2020 and 2025, right? What
Yes,
do you
sir.
think are the main reasons or for such kind of a prediction of such bullish and ambitious numbers? What do you think are the main reasons?
Surely, sir. So that is the part I was about to cover. Can I take you through that? And
Please,
if there are any
please
other
go ahead.
questions after it, I'll be
Yes,
happy
yes,
to.
please go ahead. Please go ahead.
So these are the 5 reasons that are, in my opinion, supporting these numbers by ICRA research. So first of what we are looking at is the adoption of EVs in the hyper-local delivery space, innovations in business model financing, loan repayment options and offerings. That is the first point we are looking at. Second, we are looking at a revolution in the recharging methods with possible battery swapping techniques and thus reducing the upfront purchase cost of the two-wheeler EVs directly by a 30 to 40%. Third point, we are looking to reduce the dependency of fast plug-in options as they are known to negatively affect the battery life of these EVs. And how do we do this? By encouraging battery leasing and battery swapping prices. And we can achieve this by reducing the GST that is on to a 5%, which is presently an 18% on the prices of batteries. Fourth point, and the final point we are looking at is that identifying and forging alliances with key stakeholders based on risk understanding and mutual benefits. So these are the 5 points that we can adopt to ensure that we truly walk into the future with EVs. Do these 5 points answer your question, sir? Or shall I elaborate on any point?
Yeah. What about the your reflection on the policy framework? Say, for example, analysis on FAME 2.0, FAME 1.0.
Okay. So I haven't read the policy in depth, but this is what I have understood as of now, that the policy has been putting a lot of pressure on the manufacturers itself, and there is still a long way to go for how the EV will be suitable for the Indian market and for the Indian customers. So due to changes in the policy and the pressure that is there on the OEMs itself, the industry is not quite open to adopting the policy as is. And they still wish for certain changes that I'm not very aware of, but that's my understanding, sir.
Okay.
So I'll just conclude the presentation. So
Yes.
these are the 5.
Add information.
Yes.
See, for example, you look at this, the maximum adoption is happening in two-wheelers, buses, and
Yes.
three-wheelers, right? The
Absolutely.
reason is, if you look at FAME 2.0, around 10,000 crores have been allocated. Were you
Right.
there in the yesterday's conversation?
No, sir, I had a test, so I was unable to join.
So I impressed upon this yesterday. Out of those 10,000 crores, around 8,500 crores were only allocated for demand incentives. And out of those 8,500 crores, close to 3,300 crores are only for buses. That is why you see buses adoption going to be high.
Right.
Followed by two-wheelers and three-wheelers, right? So if we were to measure the growth of EVs through four-wheeler passenger, then that's a wrong yardstick. But you're right, the prediction is right, and things will get even better than this. Good job, Ronald. Go ahead, please.
So just to add to your point, so my understanding is that there are certain big organizations who already adopted EV into their services. If we look at something such as a Big Basket, they already are using EVs for their last mile delivery options. Shadowfax are using dark stores and EVs once again for last mile delivery. IKEA has a more than 50% of electronic vehicle fleets to ensure that the deliveries are happening through EVs, and the government of the government in Mumbai, that is the BMC, they have also been highly encouraging the adoption of electronic buses. And the BMC had also recently, like I believe a month or two ago, they had proposed a plan and it was made public as well. So that is my understanding, that we are truly looking at a future that will slowly shift to a very to electric in nature. So that is it from my end. If there are any other questions, I would be happy to take them. Thank you.
Good job. Very good job, Ronald. Nice. Good presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So next candidate is Saurabh. Saurabh.
Yeah. Yes. I hope the screen is visible.
Yeah.
Good morning, respected sir. I, Saurabh, would like to present the various aspects of EV ecosystem in India. To begin with, I would like to brief about the EV's journey in India over the years. India began automobile manufacturing in the 1940s with companies like Hindustan Motors and Premier. HM's ambassador model gained majority share from the 1960s to 1980s, post which Maruti Udyog Limited and subsequently Hyundai and Honda in 2000 increased their presence post the 1991 liberalization. The EV market began in 1996 with an electric three-wheeler named Vikram Safa from Scooters India Limited, crossing sales of over 400 units. Mahindra launched Bijli in 1999, but the lack of demand forced closure in 2004. In 2005, over 200 EV dealers existed, and annual sales even touched 110,000 in two-wheelers. However, till 2012, the industry witnessed decreased sales, and between 2012 and 2014, the reduction in petrol diesel prices, withdrawal of financial subsidies, and higher taxes pushed customers to adopt ICE vehicles, additionally helped by EVs' huge cost, low speed, battery quality, and shorter ranges between 2000 to 2014-15. However, renewed schemes and awareness have pushed EV transition, projecting a 22.1% growth from 2020 to 2030. Now, a review of the policy shows FAME scheme, carried out in two phases, wherein the first phase from 2015 to 2017 helped India to understand the gaps in terms of battery incentivization, domestic manufacturing of EVs and batteries, as well as their procurement mechanism. The second phase, which is ongoing, offers support, for example, up to rupees 10,000 per kilowatt hour for a four-wheeler, then through capital grants and subsidies touching 15 lakh electric vehicles. But planned targets have actually deviated. MHI's data indicated that the targeted 10 lakh high-speed electric two-wheeler sales by March 22, only 50,000 such units have been sold by 2020 end. Issues such as disbursal of only 10% of the allocated 8,000 crores purchase subsidy and stringent qualifying criteria such as minimum range of 80 km act as deterrents. Next, the PLI scheme carries incentives for component manufacturing and OEMs. Components could include supercapacitors, transmission assembly, etc. However, similar to FAME, qualification criteria is a hurdle, wherein, for example, a 13% incentive requires a significant turnover for the company. Finally, there are statewide policies, like in Delhi, there's a 100% exemption on vehicle registration fee, while Tamil Nadu provides CAPEX subsidy. Furthermore, ministry-level initiatives exist, such as easing customs duty for battery packs. Other policies involve Mission on Transformative Mobility, amendment of Motor Vehicle Rules 1989, and mandating the PSUs to procure EVs, etc. Next, on the infrastructure side, Niti Aayog records 1640 public charging stations, which are mostly plug-in charging and battery swapping facilities as of January 2022.
So which university you are from, Saurabh?
Sir, School of Petroleum Management, Pandit Deen Dayal Energy University, which is in Gandhinagar.
Very nice. Can you go back to the previous slide?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you impress a little more on the PLI scheme, Saurabh?
Yes, sir. In my understanding, what I found is that the scheme is actually divided into two categories. One is for the components, and one is for the OEMs. And there are I have sort of given an example of various components that are actually existing within the vehicles for which the incentives are there. But the hurdle that the companies are actually facing is that, I mean, for example, smaller companies, is that there is a significant hurdle in terms of the turnover that the company is actually required to report. So, for example, if there is a 13% incentive is required, then in that case, a turnover of 2,000 crores, and there is also some sort of a market. There's a bit of requirements with regards to the turnover, as well as other qualification criteria for the PLI scheme, which is required for being able to access the incentives under the PLI scheme.
So, according to you, is PLI scheme in its avatar and form good to propel the adoption of EVs, or do you recommend any changes?
Definitely, it is good. But the fact is that if it is made available to much more smaller players, for example, the MSMEs, or even, for example, startups which are actually getting into this field, that would be much better. Because if we sort of create this kind of a sort of a barrier when 2,000 crores of incremental turnover required, then I feel a lot of new players might actually not fit into that scheme of things. So the target, I mean, the sort of strategy is right, but I think the qualification criteria could actually be easy.
Okay.
So may I go ahead?
Yeah, please.
Next on the infrastructure side, as I said, Niti Aayog records over 1640 public charging stations, which are mainly in the plug-in charging and battery swapping facilities as of January 2022, and they cater to mainly two-wheeler and three-wheeler segments. Majority of the infrastructure was set up during the second phase of the FAME scheme, out of which 48% of the capacity focused in 5 states of Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and Andhra Pradesh. Infrastructure development has been promoted through initiatives like charging as a service, wherein license requirements have been eased to set up infrastructure. Then there is the availability of capital subsidy. GST slabs have been reduced for charges from 18% to 5%, and housing laws like the Model Building Bylaws 2016 have been amended to promote charging in urban spaces. However, over time, certain requirements have been identified. This includes bringing uniformity in charging connectors, as well as having a dedicated strategy to integrate renewable power supply, helping to balance the power load or the power demand, and further technology integration through IoT and energy management systems to have been sought by the stakeholders in the sector. The next deliverable is to identify the suitable or possible futuristic EV alternatives. The primary focus in India appears to be on CNG-powered vehicles, which consist of eco-friendly and low-cost attributes compared to petrol or diesel vehicles. Also, as India is looking to expand its national gas grid to 30,000 kilometers and having conducted the recent 11th CGD bidding for geographical areas in 19 states, a gas-based mobility is a prime EV alternative under the current conditions. Additionally, LNG-powered vehicles may also be a futuristic alternative to the existing CNG. Now, CNG could also be further enriched through hydrogen blends due to its impact on carbon emissions. A Supreme Court recommendation in 2019 pushed Delhi to consider 50 CNG buses as a pilot project. However, considering the extent of petrol and diesel penetration in India, the government has also looked to promote blending fuels, like including 20% ethanol in petrol by 2025. Also, considering that India is looking to expand its refinery capacity to 298 MMTPA by 2025, and also the oil demand is expected to increase by 50%, flexi fuel alternatives like a blending of ethanol are practical along with CNG. Finally, the idea of hydrogen combustion vehicles is slightly far-fetched, but an aggressive push for decarbonization would see such options in the future. Finally, the challenges that the EV sector face is primarily to reduce the EV adoption costs. Upfront costs continue to be high, and so are the charging costs. For example, one full charge of a 40 kilowatt-hour battery with a range of 250 kilometer for a four-wheeler ranges between around rupees 120 to rupees 150 in Delhi. Same cost crosses around rupees 200 in cities like Mumbai. Also, the charging infrastructure isn't easily accessible, as many states have challenges with road networks, building laws, etc. Also, setting up infrastructure may be financially difficult to account for the returns due to the varying EV trends. India also needs to cross the hurdle of building domestic manufacturing base, as imports in batteries, for example, have soared. Now, as far as the opportunities are concerned, 4 areas have shown major traction. With India being the second largest mobile phone market in the world, amid soaring demand for electronics, battery manufacturing segment could be a significant opportunity. Secondly, delivery chains. For example, over 6 lakh three-wheeler units were sold in 2020, of which 17.5% accounted for the carrier segment, which can be met by the electric vehicles with growing e-commerce. Third, some ride-hailing firms like Blue Smart have modeled the mobility business on EVs, while Ola and Uber also have integrated EVs in their fleet. Finally, public procurement has also seen major traction with major cities like Delhi, which is a massive opportunity for the electric vehicle segment. With that, I would like to conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Hey, very good, Saurabh. I must really appreciate your, I would say, deeper insights that you brought, especially from the policy framework perspective. And you have, I would say, very comprehensively covered all of them. And my suggestion is go a little deeper into PMI schemes. while the schemes are good, but as you rightly said, since the schemes kind of differentiated based on the turnover of the companies, right?
Yes, sir.
So the younger companies, the younger players who have got the zeal, but they may not have the legacy like that of the older ones, could be the ones who might be get pissed off, right?
Yes,
Say,
sir.
for example, very recently we see Ola being eligible for PLI and right.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Being
sir.
eligible for PLI now, whether they're eligible or not, they will still raise funds by themselves.
True, sir.
But
True,
it
sir.
is the younger ones. Say, for example, some companies started by Sora, right?
Yes, sir.
Which is basically promising. And those are such kind of companies which needs attention and support, right?
Yes, sir.
But,
Yes, sir.
but nevertheless, yeah, the government needs to take a balanced approach. But considering the quality shortcomings that are being at least coming to the fore, especially from the new players, I think that's the reason the government is more focused upon the established ones and then want to bet their money on them. But otherwise, it is good, good in terms of affordability. And I really wanted to see if anybody would talk about innovative business models through which the affordability of the vehicles can be increased. Say, for example, the government has released a geo where it kind of disassociated the vehicle and the battery, right? The gliders can be registered without the battery.
Yes,
I thought at least some of you would focus upon that, saying that, hey, this needs to be promoted more. The OEMs needs to take this particular thing as an opportunity to penetrate this particular concept among the end customers. Right? I think that is when the affordability automatically increases, because the vehicle without battery, which is a glider, will cost much lesser than the ICE vehicle, right? And then, like the way you pay per usage of petrol, you pay per usage of battery. That's also lesser running cost, right? So I think such kind of innovative models are to be further promoted and are to be brought in. But a good job, Saurabh, and a good coverage of our policy framework. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next candidate is Darshi Adarsh. Are you here? Adarsh?
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. Sir, my screen visible, sir?
Yeah, visible, Adarsh.
Okay, sir.
You are from Siddharth Engineering College, Vijayawada?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Distinguished sir and normal dear co-participants, a warm morning to one and all. This is Adarsh, currently pursuing my sophomores at VR Siddharth Engineering College, Vijayawada. Today, I am very much delighted to express my views, sir, how the electric vehicles are the future. Is electric vehicles are the near future or not? First of all, stressing onto the overview, I like to introduce about what is the electric vehicles. With the hovering of the oil fees and the fuel shortages become as a relentless reality, which means we are opting in a different option at which we are stressing out more points on electric vehicles. Actually, gasoline vehicles are so much, we can know from gasoline vehicles how they are promoting their waste in the sorts of pollution and their carbon emissions, and how they are causing the air and noise pollution and etc. So in order to overcome all these challenges and in order to find an eco-friendly way, they had a revolution came that is known as the electric vehicles. These electric vehicles revolution is how speeding up in this essential infrastructure and also the fossil fuels which are also which are not renewable. It is also giving a best option to opt the electric vehicles. The basic attractions of the electric vehicles are the extremely fast Wi-Fi charging to access, and by using the automobile batteries, which are very much useful. And also these the advancements of new technologies, these electric vehicles are providing a better way in order to overcome all these previous described problems here. So why we are considering as electric vehicles? These electric vehicles are when compared to the automobile or gasoline vehicles, these electric vehicles are much more better, because in gasoline vehicles, for example, a recent study shows that for $1.25, and gasoline vehicles can give up to 22 miles of journey, whereas an electric vehicle can give 43 miles of journey at single $1. Means we are covering, these are low at maintenance, and these are also giving a desired distance than more than that of the gasoline vehicles. However, these are also very much important in reducing the emissions that are present in our atmosphere. We also know that there is air pollution from the gas and the diesel, which causes the asthma, bronchitis, and also predominantly the India and China has observed the most air polluted countries, in which they are causing more of these asthma and bronchitis patients which are carrying around. So thanks to the electric vehicles, which are useful in overcoming all these described diseases. And also these are also at the basic advantages of the electric vehicles are these reduces air pollution, and this also requires the low cost maintenance, because the maintenance is compared to that of a gasoline vehicle, then electric vehicle requires only low maintenance, especially for it only costs in the maintenance of batteries, which is a basic disadvantage. Okay, for here there are no tailpipe emissions, and also there reduces the noise, because the noise pollution is also very much a big problem that is present in here. And also, than a gasoline vehicle, these electric vehicles are giving a very much high travel, and this doesn't depend on the fossil fuel. However, electric vehicles are opted as a choice for a future. But in order to opt an electric vehicle, we must overcome these disadvantages. These disadvantages are very much toxic than that of a gasoline vehicles. First of all, in basic disadvantages of this e-waste. E-waste is the most insidious problems of the electric vehicles. Management of the e-waste is very much required, because these are made up of some bakelite, some lithium carbide, some so on, etc. material batteries. The managing of this e-waste is very much important, and these are also rapidly increasing in order to provide a sustainable development in which we required. However, nickel cadmium batteries are which are predominantly used in the electric vehicles and need to be curbed at the earliest positions also. And these are the expenditure of the batteries are also costly high, because the common man, which are as India is more predominantly a middle class, mostly a middle class people country, also reach the common man. These electric vehicles must have a way to reach the common man which are present. And also these batteries are also cost very high, which is a basic disadvantages. And also extremely charging. These batteries requires most of the charge. A charge problem is once it's lost charging, it is nothing else. So these cost of the charging points is also high. And also there are limited charging stations. Once they are given enough permissions for several charging stations in our country, there will be no problem. But developing many charging power point stations is very much important. So in our country, we in order to overcome all these, not only in our country, in our world, in order to opt an electric vehicle as an option, we need to overcome all these disadvantages. So are only the electric vehicles are the future? Also, there are certain alternatives. Yes, there are some certain alternatives, such as biodiesel vehicles, hydrogen vehicles, solar vehicles, and steam vehicles. So in biodiesel vehicles, as you can see that we use a biogas as a fuel. In biogas, also using as a biofuel in these vehicles, which are we all know what is a biogas come from. It comes from the kitchen and all from the households and all from the organic manures. We can develop all these from biogases. So using these biodiesel vehicles can also be a perfect chance, but these also develop CO2 emissions as much as gasoline vehicles. So, however, these can be an alternative for the electric vehicle, but not completely, as we can say. And the next option alternative is a hydrogen vehicle. These hydrogen vehicles, as we all know, hydrogen is an abundant element, but the cost of the hydrogen and it is maintenance is also very much high. As we can also, this hydrogen is very predominantly used in the launching of rockets and all those events, launching of rockets. However, common man using hydrogen in his vehicles is very much quite, it is quite difficult. And also the solar vehicles, I also know that sun is a basic from energy which is present. The solar vehicles are also an alternative for the electric vehicles, but not completely. And also steam vehicles already we have came through steam engines. We have used steam engines. They use it as a coal, and they are burning of coal and you produce the steam. And also all these options have been given, but there is no correct solution for this option. So in order to opt the electric vehicles as a near future, we need to first of all overcome all the disadvantages what are the present in the electric futures, especially the e-waste management, it must not it must not it must not disturb all the earth ecosystem and all. So that's what, sir, I want to conclude.
Good, Adarsh. Good.
Sir, any
I
question?
think it's a good research work that you have done. Very good. So have you gone into details of hydrogen fuel cell technology, their applications, etc., as an alternative for EVs?
Yes, sir, I have gone through the hydrogen vehicles especially. But as we can see that hydrogen, we can see that common man cannot afford them, sir.
Why?
Because hydrogen vehicles, that maintenance and also the sorry, sir, the maintenance of the cannot be afforded, sir.
Who said?
I mean,
okay.
Not, okay.
You need to dive deep into hydrogen fuel cell.
Yes, sir. Actually,
hydrogen fuel cell is nothing but like the way you have the petrol and diesel engines that are running right now, right?
Yes,
so
sir.
instead of that petroleum gas, etc., you have right, the hydrogen fuel cells in a very similar aspect.
Yes,
and then
sir.
the byproducts are water.
Electrolysis of water.
Correct. So dwell a little deeper.
Yes,
and there is nothing in terms of affordability. And in fact, hydrogen fuel cell vehicles are very much apt for bigger vehicles, such as trucks, 40 feet containers, right? Intercity, bigger vehicles, buses. So they're actually apt. Dive deep. But otherwise, it's a good attempt, Adarsh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Very much pleased.
Thank you, Adarsh. Next participant is Shreya Kumari. Can start presenting your screen.
No participants from IIT Anurag until now?
Not yet, sir.
Go ahead, Shreyas.
Yeah, greetings to one and all present here. Greetings to the honorable jury member. I'm not able to rename myself. So my name is Shreya Kumari and I'll start. Sure, sir.
Yeah, please rename yourself.
Sir, I'm not actually able to rename myself and
now,
I'm trying to
check it now.
All right, let me just yeah, I'm able to do that. Just a second. All right. I hope my name is visible now. So I'll just start screen sharing and let me know if my screen is visible. All right. Just a second. All right, so I'll be starting off on the count of 3, 2, 1. At present, we know that the world is grappling with the problem of climate change. The cumulative greenhouse emission that has been responsible for decreased life expectancy, not only that, but increase in the acidification of ocean and also increase in climate change and so on and so forth. And therefore, at this point in time, electric vehicle, ladies and gentlemen, is something that seems the alternative to the fossil fuels. According to Elsevier, electric vehicles can decrease the GHG emission from 14% to 100% by 2050. However, this prediction runs on a few conditions of sustainability. Electric vehicles to be sustainable, there needs to be affordable investment, rare metal availability, reduced emission in production stage, and use of efficient batteries. Let's take a look whether or not electric vehicles at present are fulfilling these conditions. Starting off with investments and policies. Currently, developing countries like India has just 7 automated fitness test centers and 2 authorized scrappage centers, which is inadequate to cater to the market, and which also becomes a deterrent to the facilitation of switch from the current existing conventional vehicles to that of the electric vehicles. Talking about second one, the rare metal availability. We talk about cobalt, we talk about lithium, and we talk about nickel. All these are important for the incorporation of lithium-ion battery that is used in the electric vehicle. They are also exposed to a range of supply chain risks because of their production, because they are geographically concentrated and dominated by jurisdictions which include geopolitical rivalry, supply chain, policy stability, state contract alteration, and so on. When we talk about geopolitical rivalry, at present, lithium and all these rare metals are majorly produced by Argentina and China, accounting to 96 to 97%. And considering the geopolitical rivalry, US too, ladies and gentlemen, has started their own production by converting lithium concentrate into lithium carbonate and then producing the lithium ion batteries. This process is very expensive to be adopted by the developing countries. Talking about the third one, the emission in the production stage. Producing a 75 kilowatt battery for a Tesla model would result in the emission of 4,500 kilograms of CO2. That is the emission equivalent to driving a gas-powered sedan for 1.4 years, a yearly average distance of 12,000 miles. So for at once, it might seem that electric vehicles pollute the environment less, but the cumulative production, including the production stage, when we consider mining, when we consider all of this, plus the transport stage, surpasses the pollution that we see from the natural gas and the other alternatives that we have. Fourth and most importantly, efficiency of batteries. Ladies and gentlemen, efficiency of batteries will majorly fixate upon its ability to recycle batteries, but it's very difficult. Unlike the lead acid batteries, the lithium ion battery, it's very difficult to recycle due to its large size. They're also vulnerable to explosion and catching fire, and often end up gathering in scraps and waste because of the lack of government's initiative to recycle lithium ion batteries. And therefore, due to these reasons, we look for the alternatives that we have for the electric vehicle. Alternative number one, natural gas. Currently, India in the Paris Agreement has made this target of reducing the GHG emission to 33%. Now, this 33% can't only be facilitated by electric vehicle because India is not having the rare earth metal in abundance and not having that manufacturing and recycling process. However, this can be combined with the natural gas, where actually we can reduce the GHG emission, we can reduce the consumption of fossil oil by mixing these natural gas in the existing pipeline, in the existing kind of fossil fuels that we are using. Secondly, when we talk about the recycling process, lead acid batteries used in the natural gas has 100% recycling rates in the US. Why? Because lead acid batteries are highly toxic in nature, and therefore there is a 100% cap. But when we talk about lithium ion batteries, they are relatively lesser toxic, and therefore we do not have such recycling initiatives as such when we talk about developing countries, ladies and gentlemen. But lack of recycling policies leads to a lot of cumulative garbage scraps, and this leads to toxification of environment as well. Recycling process is very cumbersome when we talk about the lithium ion batteries. Firstly, we need to process that into a powdered like format, and then it is further converted into black mass, and then it is further needs to be kept in an environment where there's no O2 and no hydrogen. This process is very cumbersome and can't be deployed in developing and poor economies, ladies and gentlemen. This process is only started by a few startups and still in the mass scaling process, and therefore there are no alternatives to actually mass recycle the process of lithium ions that is to be used in the electric vehicles. Third and most importantly, it does not use rare earth metals. The natural gas does not use rare earth metals, whereas if we talk about the lithium ion batteries, it uses rare earth metals like cobalt, nickel, which is also not extracted in the smelting process. When we talk about the recycling of lithium ion batteries, there are smelting processes involved. Smelting process not only uses a very high temperature of 1200 degrees Celsius to 1600 degrees Celsius, but through that smelting process, none of the startups and none of the technologies working here right now have found the solution to extract cobalt and nickel, the rare earth metal, to its fullest form. And that leads to the wastage of the rare earth metals. Whereas when we talk about lead acid batteries, the lead and plastic used there can be easily extracted, and the newer batteries can be recycled and formed from there, making this recycling process much easier for the lead acid batteries used in the natural gas. Now, moving on to the second alternative, ladies and gentlemen, that is the hydrogen fuel, something that has been mostly abundant in nature. Why it is preferred? A, it can easily be mixed in other fuels. When we talk about completion of the GHG target, when we talk about reducing the pollution remarkably in in very polluting states like Delhi, where this GHG emission has been the cause, according to the doctors, to the respiratory disease, it will produce immediate result when we mix that with existing diesel and petrol, because we can't overnight, disrupt the supply, and we can't overnight exhaust the supply of petrol, diesel, and whatsoever. But the easier solution to that will be mixing some cleaner fuels to that to remarkably reduce the pollution in the shorter duration. Now, secondly, new innovations are also coming up when we talk about the hydrogen fuel. Hydrogen fuel, definitely the process incurs exothermic reaction, but adjustment of reaction time can be used to reduce emission. Electrolysis process can be made more efficient through proton exchange membrane. And here the proton exchange membrane just converts the chemical energy into electrical energy and does not incur the heavier reaction that produces the exothermic reaction. There have been recent researches by IIT Bombay that using electrolysis with that, the magnetic field also makes the process easier. So it can be easily augmented with the current innovations that are there in the field of technologies. Now, coming to the third and last alternative that we have is the biofuel. Biofuel, unlike the EV when we talk about, when there are mining involved, when there is a lot of pollution involved in the production stage, here in the production stage, it is made from the decomposition of matter already decaying in environment, naturally obtained from methods like concentrate, wall, and coal bed methods. And most importantly, it will also incentivize farmers because it is also produced by a method, by four-way method of cultivation of seed, where the seed is cultivated, whether it also involves buying of seed and procurement of seed, and oil extraction method through trans-esterification, which is an easier process, but along with that, it will also sort of incentivize the farmers through some incentivization mechanism to produce more seeds and accordingly decompose that to the bio oil. Secondly, it can be used in the heavier vehicles. When we talk about heavier vehicles, electric vehicle, or let's say the lithium ion batteries, are not suitable. We'll be using a lot more lithium ion batteries even if we want to produce just a heavier vehicle of 3,500 kgs. And therefore, when we talk about use of heavier vehicles, the most durable market for liquid fuel will be in heavy equipment like aviation and container ships. And for this, we just need some diverse plants and feedstock, which can be augmented with the garbage and waste already present in the environment. For instance, REG, Renewable Energy Group, is installing a dual fuel system on the city's 35 garbage truck. And dual fuel technology will then allow the trucks to run on 100% biodiesel, remarkably reducing the pollution rate. And even when we talk about India, India is a country where cow dung has been very prevalent, and therefore we can augment this existing technology. Just in the absence of oxygen, we can produce biofuel through the existing wastage that we have. In the end, I would just like to say that according to Toyota precedent, Japan would run out of electricity in the summer if all cars were running on electricity. Now, this urges us to look for alternatives, as we cannot heavily rely on EVs. I'm not telling that we completely phase out EVs and completely rely on the alternatives. No, we can definitely rely on EV, but along with that, we must look for other solutions so that we run out of earth metals. We'll have something that we can trust. We will have something that we can go on to, for example, hydrogen cell fuel or biofuel. And therefore, it's time to look for more accessible alternative and customize that with the help of technology to meet the current environmental needs. A solution would be incentivization of scrappage policies and disincentivization of the existing vehicles which are polluting the environment. Along with that, for the immediate effect, we might use hydrogen fuels or cleaner fuels like ethanol and mix that with the existing petrol and diesel to remarkably reduce the pollution and producing an immediate result, which is very important in the states like Delhi or the other states where the pollution level is very high. With this, I end this presentation. Thank you.
Good, Shreya. You focused more on the alternatives for EVs. Well, of course, EVs you touched in a bit, but then what would be the other alternatives? That's great. And probably more on the challenges for adoption of EVs and opportunities for adoption of EVs, and what would be different ways through which innovation can be brought in, to adopt the EVs together. Probably those are the points. Had you added it, would have been great, but otherwise it's a good presentation from a different perspective of alternatives. All the best. Good job, Shreya.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next one is Sudhanshu Agarwal.
Yeah, hi. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible. Go ahead.
Just a minute.
Hi, Sudhanshu.
Hi, sir. Just a minute, I'll be presenting my screen. Do let me know if you're able to see it. Sir, is it up for you?
It's visible.
Yes, go ahead, Shubhara.
Great. Sir, I hope it's in presentation mode.
Yeah, we can see the slides.
Yeah,
Please.
great. So hi all, myself Suranshu Agarwal from SGM from IIT Bombay, and I'll be presenting my views on the topic challenges and opportunities of the EV today. So the agenda for the presentation will broadly cover five buckets of the market summary at the global level, which then I'll be drilling down to the current scenario in India. I'll walk you through the affordability of the products for the layman and why EV is lagging behind in India. And finally, we'll touch on the opportunities that the government companies and the consumers have had at their disposal for the EV segments. Starting off with the market summary, we can see that 12.7 million units were being sold in 2021, and as per the estimates, at an increased rate of 42% CAGR, we'll be able to reach the 100 million unit marks by 2027. Accordingly, South Korea, Japan, and China are the major frontrunners for the Asia Pacific region. For EU nations, they have counted into the government laws, and they'll exhibit the highest CAGR in the forecast period. And in order to make the transportation cleaner, US and Canada are working extensively on both infra and the production units. The key parameters that help in helping in the boosting of these countries is the decreased cost of the EV automobiles, wherein the 80% of the battery 80% of the cost is reduced for the battery. Improved technology, which helps in increasing the range of the cars and decreasing the charging time of the EVs. Increased infrastructure with machining of the charging structures with the help of the government subsidies. This has helped in order to remove the range anxiety that the consumers have. The government and the company policies having an extensive research and department developments in order to make sure that the EVs are booming in the country, and increased awareness helps in the building up of the ecosystem.
Sudhanshu, can you come closer to your mic? The voice is too much muffled.
Okay, am I audible now?
Yeah.
Great. Now, drilling down to the Indian market, unfortunately, all these are the ones that are the key challenges for the Indian market. And the high cost of the EV, charging infrastructure, the lack of the charging infrastructure, wherein the India has only 650 charging stations as compared to 456K, which is present in India, present in China. The range anxiety which kicks in when the consumers realize that the electric vehicles may not be enough in order to get them to their destinations. And the raw and the technological dependency that the country has on different countries in order to make sure that the R&D expenditures are being tackled with. Also, we have a dearth of options in the market, wherein we just have the said companies in two-wheeler manufacturing, the commercial vehicles, and the personal vehicles. I'd also tried to map the market scenario as per the user persona that we have, and mapping their expectations to the automobile industry. But painfully, we are not able to meet all their requirements, and hence there's a lack of the boost in the EV industry. Now talking
Go
about
back, please. Go back.
Yeah, sure.
Can you delve deeper on the user persona you're trying to give?
Right. So what I have done is that I have transformed I have bucketed all the consumers that we have into 5 major buckets, right? Wherein, for example, if there's a person who's a college graduate, is just fresh out of the college and is working in an MNC, is working in a tier 1 city, say for example Bangalore, right? So he is expecting an inexpensive car, reliable, which is reliable and has a high mileage, right? But that is what is not being able to. That is what is not being met by the EV vehicles. Why? Because the EV vehicles, the starting cost of a particular 4-wheeler will range from 14 lakhs and upwards, and for a 2-wheeler it would be from 1.5 lakhs and upwards. So that is where Rohan will not be able to meet his expectations, and hence EV is not being helping him out in the further scenarios. Similarly, if I have Sunil, who's a bachelor and he's a cab driver, he drives 10 hours per day, needs a reliable car, and since he's driving 10 hours per day, and the perks that he's getting out of the driving will be directly proportional to the number of amounts.
Sunil, how many kilometers will you drive in a day, as per his case study?
As per sir, what? I'm sorry.
As per Sunil,
how
many kilometers will you drive per day?
Sir, as per Sunil, I believe that he can drive at least 200 kilometers per day. Even if he covers 20 kilometers per hour, that would lead for him to 200 kilometers per day. So that is something that the range of the cars will not be able to provide as of now.
Okay.
Right.
But have you looked at have you gone into details of the case study? Are you sure that the cab drivers, all of them drive 200 kilometers a day?
So 200 kilometers is the average amount that I'm benchmarking right now. They even go till 250 to 300 kilometers. Like if I have to consider Bangalore, so like I was in Bangalore, right? So in Bangalore, if we have to travel from my home to airport, that itself is 60 kilometers on a one ride stroke. So if I have to, just 4 times it, like if I have to go to and fro on an airport, right, that would itself, range from 250 kilometers. And because of the lack of the charging infrastructure and the high amount of time spent on the charging, that this would be not beneficial for a cab driver.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Should I move ahead?
Yeah.
So now I'll be talking about the cost benefit analysis of the cars. So here I have taken Tata Nexon petrol versus Tata Nexon EV. I'll be just opening up the Excel sheet for just a minute. Yes. So what I've done here is that I have made certain assumptions of the on-road price of the Tata Nexon EV and the Tata Nexon petrol, and what would be the insurance cost, maintenance cost, and whatnot. And even after taking in the exemptions from the government, we see that the cost of upfront ownership would be 14.17 lakhs for Tata Nexon EV, whereas it is for Tata Nexon petrol it would be 10.62 lakhs, right? Now, what I have done here is that, if I have taken cost per kilowatt hours, like the average cost,
Go up once, please go up. So this 14.5 lakhs is after subsidy?
No, 14.5 lakh is the ex-showroom price, basically.
Okay, you did not take subsidy into consideration here?
Here, subsidies are taken, sir. The exemptions part.
Is it only 50,000 rupees?
It is like, I have taken an average of all the state governments that has been providing it.
No, DHA subsidy is given by central government, no, Sudhanshu, not the states. States is an additional subsidy further given. But then there is a central government subsidy which is basically given by the Department of Heavy Industry. How much is that?
I'm sorry, sir. I'm not aware of that. I have to go back and check on that.
It is roughly 10,000 rupees per kilowatt hour with a maximum cap, I think, for about 2 lakhs. Right? Please check into this. Right? That's not correct. Nevertheless, doesn't really matter.
Sure. I'll make sure that I'll make the changes in the calculations.
Yeah, that's correct. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Great. So, sir, now, if I have to take into the consideration of the electric car, I have assumed that the cost per kilowatt hour is 8 rupees. Like it's an average amount that I have taken, and there's a 2% increase at a YOY level, right? So for till 8 years, why I have taken 8 years is because the average life cycle of a particular car in an Indian society is 8 years. So that is what I have taken into account. So as per this calculation, and also in the for the cost for petrol, right? I have taken that it is increasing from like year 1 at 90 rupees, and a 5% increase at a YOY level will reach at 126.64 rupees till 8th year. I hope that it does not go there, but yeah. Right. So what I'm trying to do here is that I'm trying to calculate the mileage of a particular car for both Tata Nexon EV and Tata Nexon petrol. And when I've done the calculation, it says that if I have traveled a limit of 10,000 kilometers, I would have to pay 14.3 lakhs as per Tata Nexon EV, whereas 11.26 as per Tata Nexon petrol. So as you can see that when we are reaching to the minus sign, that is where the first time we'll be able to produce the profits out of the Tata Nexon EV. In order to make the profit out of Tata Nexon EV, I have to travel at least 70,000 kilometers in order to make sure that I'm not denting my own pocket. But as I mentioned before, that the average life cycle of a particular car in an Indian society is 8 years. That is, I feel, not feasible, because in order to travel 70,000 kilometers, you are roughly saying that in one particular year you have to travel 10,000 kilometers, which for an average consumer I feel is a bit lot. That is what I'm trying to present here. Similarly,
so also one thing. So what is the average run you have taken for petrol and you have taken for EV?
I have not taken, sir. Basically, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to have a break-even point. So
So you are saying until the vehicle is run 70,000 kilometers, there is no break-even. Is that what you're trying to communicate?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You need to rework on these calculations, because number one, your subsidies are not considered rightly. So you will see a good reduction there.
Okay.
And please come down. Can you make that cost per kilowatt hour at 6 rupees, please, once?
Sure, sir. So here, like, probably if I add 65,000 also, then it would be, I'll be able to break even, I guess.
And cost per liter, how much is the cost per liter now, petrol? Can you make
Sir, I have taken that of an average of 90 rupees.
Of
90 rupees. Yes, sir.
We crossed 100 long back, no? Make it 114.
Okay,
sure. That's the rate at which it is working, no? 114.
114, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So according to that, I'll be able to break even after 40,000 kilometers. Sure.
Okay.
So like around 50,000 kilometers is where I'll be able to break even, and I'll have a profit of 4.5K.
1 second.
So one thing that I forgot to mention here is that even the mileage is being reducing as the time increases. So I assume that it would be a decrease of 2% for both the cars.
Sorry, come again. What is it?
So, sir, right now the average range that a car gives, the Tata Nexon EV gives, is 225 kilometers, right? That is for the first year of run. But like as the time increases, the efficiency.
Is what is it at the practical application? Because generally 1 kilowatt hour as a unit used to roughly 10 kilometers. That's the thumb rule. Now what is the kilowatt hour package? 30 units, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think
what I'm saying is that in 30 units, the car is able to travel at 225 kilometers.
And then the mileage you have taken at 18 rupees, 18 kilometers. Are you sure 18 kilometers is the mileage?
Yes, sir. For Tata Nexon petrol, that's the mileage that is being, so like the ARAI mileage claimed is 21.6. Even that I have reduced by 30%.
See, because I also drive I drive two vehicles.
Yes, sir.
It's something similar to Nexon, which is 4 EcoSport.
Okay.
I don't get more than 12 kilometers.
Sir, it depends that what is your driving style, right? If you're just
now we are talking about the city driving, right? City driving at 18 kilometers is impossible. So
right. That's what.
It doesn't look realistic. Make it somewhere around 1340. Correct?
Sure. Then we'll be able to touch by 35K.
And also, let me quickly tell you what is the four-wheeler exemption.
Sure, sir.
Yeah, just hold on.
Excuse me, sir. Like this presentation has like already taken 14 minutes. So
No, that's okay. If the discussion is good and if the points are good, that's okay. See, we are doing it more for the benefit of the industry and then for the awareness, right? So
yes,
we cannot let also certain wrong data to be taken at a face value. So that's all right. I understand that. So I feel 2.0, it is for four-wheelers, it is a maximum of, I think, 1.5 lakh, right?
So I guess that is including if you are also taking in the loan on the cars.
No, no,
so
no.
That,
No.
okay.
See, let me post that particular image in the chat box if possible. See, FAME 2.0 talks about the maximum number of vehicles to be covered are at around 35,000 for four-wheelers. And approximate, right, the battery average cost is taken at around 15 kilowatt hour. And the exemption given is, subsidy given is 10,000 rupees per kilowatt hour. So it is a maximum of 1.5 lakh, right? So instead of that 50,000, though it actually works out to be 3 lakhs, but then the maximum cap is 1.5 lakhs. So please make it to 1.5 lakhs there. You see in the exemptions, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now you see this.
So now I'll probably be able to break even by 25K.
Yeah, because this looks more realistic. Otherwise, the one which you're taking, for example, if you look at the per unit cost subsidy given by Delhi government, it is only 4 rupees. Whereas Telangana government, it is 6 rupees. Then Bangalore also it is 4 rupees, right? So 8 rupees is almost your commercial value, right? 8, 9, 10 rupees. So most of the time the EV tariff is lesser than 8, 9, 10 rupees. So 6 rupees is right one. And then mileage for fuel is roughly 14, absolutely correct. Cost per liter is also now taken very realistically. And okay. So this makes sense. That means within, say, for example, 30 to 40,000 kilometers or between 20 to 30,000 kilometers. That means if an average run of a vehicle is somewhere between 10 to 15 on a regular thing, if somebody is running around 40, 50 kilometers a day, right? Then it works out to be that in around 2.5 3 years, he'll be able to recover. Now, you have only considered the operational cost. Now, let us also look at the maintenance cost. In a passenger, in a regular ICE vehicles, you have many maintenance costs because there are too many moving parts. Of course, wheels and tires or the brakes are the ones which are anyway into regular maintenance. But if you look at the correct, okay, you've already taken it, right?
Yes, sir, I have already taken that.
Makes sense. That's already taken. That's absolutely
yes,
fine. I think it's a good modeling, Sudhanshu. I really appreciate the details and the efforts that have gone into it. A little bit of corrections in the assumptions, which are very close to the reality, is what is giving us the right thing. But good job, very good job. And go for two-wheelers, and with the same assumptions, I'm sure two-wheelers will be even much more faster.
Yes, sir. So here, like again, I guess I have to revise the exemption part. I have taken Ether 450, which the ex-showroom price is 1.25 lakhs.
Yeah, makes sense. And come down.
Yeah. And again, like here, 6 and 114 will be taking place. But what I have done is that, after 50K, I'll be able to break even. But yeah, obviously the
once calculations. The numbers make it 6 and make this 114.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So now after roughly 15K, I guess I'll be able to have a break even.
So 1 to 2 years time. Why? Because the cost is almost the parity between these almost exists because of the subsidy. And also now if we are talking about energy as a service, that means we are only talking about glider being registered. That is, which is 40% of the vehicle's cost is only is battery, right? So only at a 70% of cost the vehicle gets registered, and then you start using energy as a service, paper battery usage. I think it is even better. I think both these things are absolutely good, right? In a two-wheelers, you have a lesser time. That is why all the Shreya has mentioned, right? The last mile deliveries, especially food deliveries, hyperlocal deliveries, they find it more relevant in terms of the two-wheeler EVs, so that they can break even faster. And definitely four-wheeler in terms of passenger may not be an ideal thing for a to try to prove total cost of ownership. But again, four-wheeler cargo, where the run is more than 200, 300 kilometers. See, basically, how will an EV, this is again for all of you who are watching there as participants and those who are watching on YouTube, right? The context that I'm trying to communicate here is you will be able to get a break even from EVs provided you run more number of kilometers a day. That means for commercial applications where, for example, like you rightly said, right, for cab, for Rahul as a thing, right?
Yes,
You
sir.
have taken 200 kilometers per day as a run, correct? Now,
Right,
can
sir.
you put Rahul's case here in the four-wheeler passenger comparison? Please go ahead.
Sure. So, I mean, so here, sir, I guess that has already been accounted for.
So, in that case, Rahul's case, what happens is, if it is roughly 150 to 200 per day, that
Right.
means is almost covering 40 to 60,000 kilometers a year, something like
Right.
that.
Right.
So if he is covering 40 to 60,000 kilometers per year, which means that within the very first year itself, actually the ideal application is not 200 kilometers. Of course, you have taken the airport to and fro into consideration, but then the intra-city transportation, generally the reports which we have looked at says 120 to 130 kilometers. Even if it's 120 to 130 kilometers per day, it is roughly around 40,000 kilometers. So even if you take 40,000 kilometers in a, right, even if you take 40,000 kilometers in a year, that means in less than 1.5 years time, he is going to get this break even.
Right.
From there on, it is only, I would say, it only makes profits for him. And then other innovative business models of how do we make this particular guy do more kilometers? Very simple, right? Over the night, in fact, during the nights, the EV tariffs are even cheaper.
Right.
During daytimes, because of the demand, the charges are high. During the night times, the EV tariffs are even cheaper. Now imagine he charges his vehicles from in the evenings, right? Where he is also sleeping and the vehicle gets charged. And in the morning, he completely uses these vehicles to run and attend every time whenever he takes a lunch break, etc. He can always put this particular vehicle for opportunity charging, right? With the fast chargers. I think he makes a lot of money. See, any application which involves maximum running of vehicles on the roads makes a right application for EVs. There is no doubt about it. But very, very brilliant modeling this, Shudhanshu. You can, I would like to further correct it. You can mail that modeling to rajivysr@gmail.com or info@evmasterclass.com. Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry for taking a little longer time, Anurag. Please go ahead, Sudhanshu. But good, very good modeling.
Thank you, sir. So in the interest of time, I'll be quickly jumping on to the last slide because I guess the government are already been taken care of by other participants.
Yeah, go ahead, quickly run it through.
Yeah, so the only, as in the innovative idea that I was kind of able to think of was that if there's a public, if there's a landlord present who's having a land besides a national highway or something, so he can lease his land in order and get the benefits, tax benefits and the rewards from the government. Also, like as of now, when we're talking about the EVs, the charging would be done by the electric grids, right? In order to make sure that that is not being taken, like that is taken care of, we can have the incentives of the solar panels in order to manage the electric grids, right? Also, increasing the awareness and the marketing tactics will play a crucial role here. A standard charging cost, which would allow a capping on the rental cost for the public charging station, would help in the further boost. And also the rental and the subscription model, this would allow that the high upfront cost that the person has to bear will not be borne by him anymore, and it would help him, it would not be a dent on his pocket. And finally, like by having a Cano model, for the startups and the organizations who are trying to jump into the EV infrastructure, they can think on the basic needs that the person has, the primary needs, and the delighters that he can have in order to make sure that he is being wooed in order to go to the EV segments. So yes, sir, that's all about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so shall I stop sharing this now?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Good job, Sudhanshu. I really liked the numbers and then the model that you have worked. Fantastic, Sudhanshu. Keep it up.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And stay in touch with me. We will connect even after this competition. Yeah.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Next one, Anurag.
Next we have Samrit Agarwal.
How many more we have?
Three more.
I am sharing my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a minute. Is my screen visible?
It is. It is. Please go ahead.
It says that due to power optimization, my camera has been switched off. Is it fine, or should I try something else?
It's okay. Go ahead. No.
Okay.
I mean, since people are watching live, it will be good if they could see you, but that's okay. Now let's not lose
Thank
time
you.
in that.
Inception of the Indian EV market. Due to the favorable government regulations, growth in demand among middle-aged urban consumers, and the continued development of sustainable infrastructure, India's electric vehicle industry has exploded in the recent years. Over the last few years, the Indian petroleum sector has faced numerous challenges such as shortage of petroleum, price hikes, and pollution generation, which makes electric vehicles an urgent need. Tata Motors has risen to become India's third largest automaker with a market share of 10%, up from a modest 4.8% in 2020. It has also been quietly gaining traction in the EV industry. Tata owns up to 75% of India's domestic electric vehicle market. Several manufacturers, including India's top automaker Maruti Suzuki and Toyota, have yet to introduce EVs in India, despite the fact that Tata Motors already has 10,000 electric vehicles on the road. In the Indian EV industry, Tata Motors' first mover advantage, along with its battle-ready position, offers a substantial threat to foreign manufacturers. It is well known that the Indian consumer focuses deeply on cost efficiency. At the time of purchase, electric automobiles are 25 to 30% more expensive than regular vehicles. When you include in the operational cost, though, the equation changes dramatically. Typically, charging an EV costs between rupees 1.2 and rupees 1.4 per kilometer. A typical petrol or diesel-powered automobile costs between rupees 8 and rupees 9 per kilometer. Assuming you work 20 days per month and commute 40 kilometers per day, you will drive 20 into 40, 800 kilometers per month, and pay into 8 rupees 640 on your car charge. That works out to rupees 7,200 for a typical automobile, and that is rupees 74,880 per year in savings. To simplify, at this rate, the additional purchase cost, as we saw in the previous presentation as well, might be covered in around 3 years. India's automobile sector is the world's fifth biggest, with plans to become the third largest by 2030. Reliance on traditional means of fuel-intensive mobility to cater to a large domestic market would not be sustainable. India's current measures to speed up the transition to e-mobility are motivated by the weight of oil imports, growing pollution, and international obligations to address global climate change. The central government wants to achieve 100% electrification by 2030. The government's faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicles FAME program began in 2015, as discussed by previous contenders, with the goal of EVs accounting for 30% of all new vehicle sales by 2020. Incentives and subsidies for two-wheelers proportional to battery capacity as well as commercial buses were increased. The government has now mandated that public sector entities acquire more electric vehicles while providing a total of $1.4 billion over 3 years to manufacture in the HEV industry. Under FAME 2, individual states have also been chipping in, as I discussed before, in with EV policies and investments. For example, Delhi set a target of having 50% electric buses in public transport by the end of 2023. Tesla's foray in the Indian EV market has been anticipated for quite some time. It was on January 8, 2021 that Tesla Motors India and Energy Private Limited was officially registered in Bangalore. Tesla intends to import electric vehicles first before moving into manufacturing in India, where 4 Tesla models have been approved by the Indian government and are expected to be released soon. Tesla Incorporation and the Indian government have initiated negotiations after the corporation was hit with high import tariffs that nearly doubled the cost of its goods. The Indian government wants Tesla to relocate its manufacturing operations to the country. Tesla, on the other hand, continues to confront significant problems as a result of high import tariffs and fierce competition in India's price-driven market. Ultimately, the EV industry has a bright future with a foreseeable intent of converting into an oligopolistic market with a few major players trying to maximize their own market share by their own respective way of matrices. At the end, it is the user who has to not bet on the wrong horse. After all, we are not Trojans, are we? Thank you.
Is that it?
Should I? Yes, sir. I made sure that I keep my switch on my camera, and Yeah. Okay, the same. Can I just share the screen? Thank you.
Yeah. Good.
Hello.
Hi, Samrit.
I had ensured that that I keep the presentation simple and just to keep it simple. So all the calculations I did were based on the petrol prices and per kilometer mileage rather than going into external costs. And it came up with the same conclusions. So I'm open to questions as you feel.
No, I think it is good, but yeah, just that you focused more on four-wheelers alone. Absolutely
Yes,
fine.
sir.
That's okay. And good, Samrit. Good presentation.
Thank you very much, sir.
Next, we have Urvi Baveja.
Hi, yes. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you are. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I'll just present my screen in a minute. I hope I'm visible too.
Yes, Urvi. Please go ahead. Which university you are from, Urvi?
So Shahid Sukhdev College of Business Studies.
What about Samrit? Which university you are from?
I'm from Sir University of Delhi.
Okay. Go ahead, Urvi.
Transportation is transforming and we need to be ready. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. My name is Urvi Baveja. I'm a second-year student pursuing Bachelor of Management Studies from Shahid Sukhdev College of Business Studies. The topic that I will be talking about today is called Charging the Future. Herein, I'll be discussing the challenges and opportunities in EV adoption. The days of internal combustion engine vehicles are slowly coming to an end. The world seems to be moving towards electric vehicles. In India alone, the EV market was valued at US $5 billion in 2020. It is predicted to grow to US $47 billion by 2026. So the compounded annual growth rate here is more than 44% in the period. Propelled forward by the initiative that propelled forward by a decarbonization initiatives that a lot of organizations have now started taking seriously, or corporates, governments, various countries have started taking seriously because of all the climate activists all around. 2021 has been a game changer when it comes to EV sales. Despite the fact that the number of electric vehicles has risen exponentially in recent years, estimates from the EV industry tell us that we have just scratched the surface and there's still a long way to go. Now, it is clear that the market for EVs is expected to expand. However, organizations and industries still have a lot of challenges to overcome. I'll be talking about few of these here. First is high initial costs. EVs have high starting costs when we compare it to internal combustion engines. Example is Tata Nexon, the ICE. It is valued at rupees 7.19 lakh. However, Tata Nexon, the EV, is valued at rupees 13.99 lakh. Thus, high costs can be a concern for potential consumers. The second is range and battery depletion concerns. People often doubt EV's capacity to reach its destination on time before the battery expires. Also, because there's a lack of charging infrastructure, especially in remote areas or areas that are thinly inhabited, people are very hesitant when it comes to buying EVs because they're afraid that they won't be able to reach their destination on time and the vehicle will run out of battery without any charging portals or alternatives. The third challenge is protection of the consumer. The repair and maintenance services are limited till date because of the lack of people or personnel that are trained in EV repair services. This causes consumer protection concerns and acts as a deterrent when it comes to purchasing electric vehicles. The fourth challenge is the lack of variety. Quite clearly, when we compare it to internal combustion engine powered vehicles, a buyer has substantially less options when it comes to purchasing electric vehicles. This restricts, as a buyer, this restricts the choice that I have available to me, and I will consider twice before buying an EV. For example, when it comes to super bikes, there are lots and lots of options available. But when it comes to EVs, there are very few, if any, options available for us. The fifth challenge is scarce battery technology. In India, the number of original equipment manufacturers that are producing batteries from raw materials is quite small. Additionally, we lack critical minerals like cobalt and lithium, and the graph above shows that the prices of cobalt are ever rising. So this problem does not seem to be reducing anytime soon. Thus, India's desire to become an EV center or global hub in the future is getting jeopardized because of this challenge. Now, talking about the opportunities for EV adoption. First is falling costs. The lifetime cost of electric vehicle might be cheaper than a gasoline or diesel automobile due to four basic factors. First is the various government schemes that are being launched in all countries, especially India. The second is the tax incentives. For example, the taxes on EVs, the GST on EVs is literally 5%, while on normal vehicles, it can be around 6 to 8 times of that number. Third is the fuel efficiency. The fourth one is the decreased energy costs. The second major opportunity is an increase in charging stations. The number of charging stations in the world are rising. Also, the convenience of charging our cars at home using standard outlets or wall chargers or using the home kit that is provided with electric vehicles now additionally provides higher customer satisfaction, and people are more likely to shift towards EVs in the future due to this reason. Third is the rise in range of electric vehicles. Advancement in battery technology, as I talked about, leads to a rise in range and the battery maintenance of EVs, and thus the tension or the apprehension that people had about EVs battery or EVs range depletion is now being reduced to some level. This may lead to an increase in potential users. The fourth opportunity are the environmental incentives. Naturally, as people become more woke by the day and we're moving towards a greener world, and we realize how electric vehicles, when compared to ICE powered vehicles, emit no tailpipe emissions. Even various governments have started aiding industry expansion through their various schemes and incentives and the subsidies that they're providing. E-commerce companies like Amazon have also launched e-mobility to reduce the carbon footprint. Talking about the government schemes and incentives, which are part of the opportunities that are provided. First is National Electric Mobility Mission Plan 2020. It aims to promote hybrid and electric cars in the country with a goal of 6 to 7 million hybrid and electric car sales per year. A scheme under this is a faster adoption and manufacturing hybrid and electric vehicles. The first phase was started in ended on 31st March 2019, and the second phase started in April 2019. It was supposed to end in 31st March 2022. However, it has been extended by 2 years. It aims to achieve national food security by promoting EVs in the country. It focuses on 4 premier aspects. The first is demand creation, charging infrastructure, pilot projects, and the various technology platforms. 2 other ministries that are focusing on increasing electric vehicles in the country. First is Ministry of Power. Ministry of Power has stated that charging electric vehicles is considered a service, so charging stations do not require a license to operate anymore. This facilitates the adoption of EVs. The second is the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. Green license plates will be awarded to both commercial and private battery operated cars according to Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. So all methanol powered, ethanol powered transport vehicles are excluded from the commercial permit requirement. Lastly, Niti Aayog authorized the National Mission on Transformative Mobility and Battery Stage Storage. The goal is to develop a 5-year phased manufacturing program called PMP to help India build export competitive integrated battery that we can export and not just for internal use, as well as localized production. Thus, although EV market is rising, we have looked at the challenges and the opportunities, and we realize that despite the huge compounded annual growth rate, we still have a long way to go, and government and corporates still need to overcome a lot of hurdles. Thank you so much.
Superb. Good, Urvi. I think good compilation of information, more from the policy perspective. Good job. Very nice.
Thank you so much, sir.
not last candidate. We have Tadmina Fatima.
Anurag, how many ends we have?
Last one.
Last one, okay.
Last one, sir.
Fatima, are you the one presenting?
Need to share screen. Yes.
Very good, very good.
Is it visible?
Yes, yes, dear, it's visible. It's visible.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Tahmina Fatima, pursuing my third year in automobile engineering from MBSR Engineering College. I am here to present my views on challenges and opportunities for EV adoption in India. As everyone knows that ICE cars emit harmful pollutants like NOx, hydrocarbons, and carbon monoxide, which cause respiratory and cardiovascular diseases. They also emit other pollutants less known but toxic and cancer-causing like benzene and PAH. PAH is polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. Car makers themselves have acknowledged that it is not possible to eliminate harmful emissions from engines of fossil fuel vehicles. Hence, the only option left for us is to switch from engines to electric motors, that is electric vehicles. Electric cars are not only the cars of future, they are the cars of today. Like in 1900s, there were no cars. All you could see was horses and buggies. 10 years later, there were no horses. It was all cars. And coming to 2020, we are seeing the birth of modern battery electric vehicles. So by next decade or so, we will see that majority of cars will be electric vehicles. Coming to next slide.
Fatima, are you changing the slides?
No, sir.
Go full screen and
let me just share it again. Is it okay now?
yeah, go ahead, please.
The automobile industry is in transition and days of ICE vehicles have come to an end.
Which slide you are in right now?
Overview, sir.
Okay,
The
please.
second slide.
Yeah.
Okay. So as Rajiv pointed out yesterday, we are a part of electric mobility as a revolution. India as an EV market is also gaining significant momentum in present time. Because of implementation of policies like FAME 1.0, 2.0 and state government policies, EV market is significantly growing. Coming to challenges for EV adoption in India. Why are people not buying EVs? There are three reasons. 35% because of cost, 24% because of charging infrastructure, and 18% because of range. The first challenge I've stated is range anxiety. What is range? Range is the distance an electric vehicle travels before the battery needs to be charged. Because of lacking charging infrastructure, range anxiety is a big hurdle for EV transition in India. Hence, customers hesitate while buying an electric vehicle because prices are higher than ICE vehicles, and they also worried about the capability to reach the destination before the battery dries out. The next challenge for EV adoption is thermal runaway. What is thermal runaway? Like each cell in a lithium-ion battery contains flammable liquid called as electrolyte. As temperature increases, electrolyte depletes, and anode and cathode join together.
Change your slides. Your slides are not rolling. Yeah.
Is it okay now?
Yeah.
So, thermal runaway. As temperature increases, electrolyte depletes. Anode and cathode join together. As a result, short circuit occurs. This results in smoke, fire accident, and explosions. This phenomena is known as thermal runaway, and fighting thermal runaway and avoiding fire accidents is also a big challenge for EV manufacturers. The next challenge is cost. Even after government subsidies and discounts, EVs still cost more than ICE vehicles. Like most of the critical components like lithium, cobalt, lithium-ion batteries, semiconductor chips, and many more are not manufactured in India. These components are imported from other regions. Hence, cost also increases because we are dependent on import. And also we have Like in ICE vehicles, we have 120 to 140 options, whereas in electric vehicles, we have a handful of options. That is also a challenge we need to overcome. The next challenge is scarce battery technology. The number of OEM manufacturing batteries from raw materials in India is very tiny. Like the country lacks minerals to produce battery, and this also negatively impacts our ambition to become an EV hub. Coming to next slide. Is the next slide visible?
You need to change, yeah.
Is it okay now? Okay. Lack of choices. As I said, there are 120 to 140 options in EVs. There are 120 to 140 options in ICE vehicles, whereas there are a handful of options in EVs, which is also a challenge. The availability of charging structure, lack of charging infrastructure, lack of infrastructure is also a significant hurdle when it comes to India. The lack of support for grid development to cater to the increased load is also a problem. Hence, it is a huge challenge to attract customers, and the majority of EVs are not covered under FAME scheme. The Indian government took an attempt to promote electric mobility in country, but the terms and conditions of FAME scheme do not support a majority of electric vehicles, and hence that is also a huge challenge. Coming to opportunities, the EV industry will create millions of jobs in various domains such as designing, testing, manufacturing, wiring, charging infrastructure, sales, services, designing, battery technologies, and many more. Here, leasing EVs, public charging stations, like depending on the business model, one can increase the charging fee and gain revenue from public charging stations, swapping stations, battery swapping stations, battery recycling business, grid energy storage modules. Grid energy storage is like a collection of methods used to store energy on a large scale within an electrical power grid. And then service and maintenance, manufacturing of battery packs and cells, solar integrated EV charging, and training services. These are the opportunities I've listed for EV adoption. That's it, sir. Thank you.
Good attempt,
I
Fatima.
made a simple PPT. All the other PPTs are like technical.
It's good. It's a good attempt you made. Very nice. Very nice.
Should I stop?
Good job, Fatima. Very good job.
Thank you, Raju.
Yeah. Anurag, what's next?
Yeah, so I think this brings to the end of the first competition. I will request all the participants, they can leave the call, and the results will be declared to you via email. So we'll be looking to your presentations once again. We'll be going through evaluating all the presentations, and the results will be declared to the participants through mail. So thank you for joining us, guys. You can leave the call. And
very good job, all of you, all the participants, right from Sonali, Charan, Devansh, Mrunal, Saurabh, Adarsh, Shreya, Sudhanshu, Samrid, Urvi, and Fatima. Very good presentations, very well articulated, well collated information. I wish you all the very best in your future, especially while you are building your career in the EV industry. All the best. Take care. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.